Welcome to Burn the Ship. Burn the Ship, our goal here is to connect entrepreneurs with professionals that can help you go all in on your business. We talk to people that have walked the walk, talk the talk, experience all the things that we experience as small business owners, and have come out the side better business owners. Really, we want to bottle up some of those experiences, bottle up some of those skills, teach them to you guys so that you can make it a little bit easier on yourselves to go through this thing that we experience when it comes to running a business. So, thank you for coming, Chris. I appreciate that very much. I wanted to say that up front. Anybody that spends the time, gives the effort to bring some value to our audience, it does mean a lot, and hopefully we can learn something to implement here as well on our side. But I'm excited to have you here. Thank you very much. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and your business?
Thanks, Bailey. I'm really pleased to be here as well, and opportunity to chat about some of my experiences as a business owner and as a full-time career person as well. Still, so our business is. I actually have a couple of businesses, but I'm going to focus today on the game business, the 521 promo. And so kind of the backstory on that is I've been in IT most of my life, working software development, working management, various roles. And back in 2013, 2014, began looking to do something different, or develop something that's going to help me be able to do something different in the long run. Including moving overseas. So I work fully remote at this point. And so part of the search for what I would like to do, what I wanted to do, I needed something that I could do remotely. Just by way of segue, where I live in the country of Panama right now. I moved here in 2016, but back in 2013, this was all kind of still in my head. It was just a vision or an idea that I wanted to do something different. I wanted my kids to have some different life experiences. I wanted to learn a different language and things like that. So started looking with my wife at the time, and we wanted something that was interesting to both of us, right? If I start a business, we start a business, we buy a business, which is what we ended up doing. We wanted something we're both interested in because I'm more of the math guy. So I get in there, I analyze it. I'm like, oh, hey, we could get this car wash or this laundromat, coin laundromat, or we could get some property rentals, that kind of thing. But to her, of course, those were all boring. And you're like, that's just so that's that. Well, I want something that we're both interested in. So we looked for good 6 months to a year. Tried to while we were getting kind of some of the foundations in place to how we're going to finance this, how we're going to put cash into it, that kind of thing. And one day I was looking through a website. They have a brokerage which lists different businesses for sale. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this business creates custom board games. And I was like, well, that's different. I never heard that before. It sounds interesting. So I shot that over to my business partner, then wife, and she was like, this is cool. She's like, I like this. And I'm like, I like it too. I think this could be a really cool thing. And we knew initially that I would still need to keep working my IT things, but that I would apply as much time as I could when I wasn't doing that. We have 4 kids together, and so that's what we did. We bought the business in 2015, and then had that for 1 year while we kind of prepped for our move overseas in 2015 and early 2016. So in 2016, then we moved to Panama, and then so we've been running that business since then, and we still run it together. We're still good friends. We unfortunately weren't able to make our relationship work in the long run, but we still we have our kids together and family, and so I don't want to dwell on that much. But I think that still being able to communicate, being able to daily run a business. She and I were chatting yesterday. Okay, we've got this and this, and we've got this and that, and the other thing coming in. How are we going to manage that? So, so that's still something as we go forward. Now, how we do the games, excuse me, I have a bit of a dry cough. Our games really are kind of ends up falling into a couple areas. Number one, anyone who just wants to come in and do a brand new game, we're absolutely going to be there. We'll help you. You'll, provide the specifications because I don't know what you want, but we'll work with you on that. It'll be conversations. We'll go back and forth. I'll go back and forth with our manufacturers. Say, hey, what can we do? They want this. You say you don't have that, or you have that, but it's a slightly different item. Because at the end of the day, for me, the product has to be quality. I'm not going to sell you something that I feel is junk. And so, that was one thing when we bought the business. The original owner told us, hey, if you guys want, excuse me, if you guys want, you can find a manufacturer in China that'll produce it cheaper. She's like, but you're going to find the quality's not the same. And I've always had the mentality that I want to try to do the best I can, whatever I'm doing. And so why would I personally go something where I know the quality is going to be a little less, maybe the product's a little bit inferior? And so, we decided right off the bat that we weren't going to do that. And if we can find quality components, we're going to do so. And we've had some clients come to us after going to other competitors in the same industry, and they said, look, the reason we're going with you is because we saw your sample game and we compared a sample game from your competitor X, and it's just different, and we feel that your product is going to have a little bit more longevity and things like that. So it's not so much to brag, but you as a business owner, I think you have to decide what you're willing to accept, and be aware that your clients are going to see that at some point in how you either go about running your business, or the quality of your product, quality of your service. If you're offering a service, eventually, if you have some area of weakness, or that they will perceive as a weakness, because maybe to you it's not, but if they perceive it as a weakness, that could be a detriment to your business. And so I think, one thing as a business owner, we want to focus on, if a person considers himself kind of a person of certain level of integrity and a certain level of honesty, then that's how you want to deal with your clients, of course. It'll come through if you don't. I've eaten on a couple deals where I made a commitment to a client and we weren't able to meet it as I thought we could, and I ate, several thousands of dollars, and I don't like that. I do not like losing money. I don't think any of us do as a business owner, right? Because you lose too much money, you're not going to be in business. So that's kind of one of the things for us, trying to make sure that we're offering a quality service, and knowing and understanding that we're not the right fit for every client. I've had some clients say, usually we're some among the cheaper, but I know that there are people who are a little bit cheaper than us. And I say, but we know based on what our clients have told us that our quality is a little bit better than that particular competitor. So I'm not going to lower my price. I believe in the value of what we provide. We're trying to help our clients do well, and so we're going to keep doing that. So then as we move on to some of the skills and things I've learned, I guess, or maybe I should just stop. I've been rambling for a little bit. Do you have any questions?
No, keep going.
All right. So, I noticed there's some of the, we have some questions here around skills I've learned. I'm not sure. I feel like I'm still learning a lot. I can still consider myself new to this. We've been doing it since 2015, but I still consider myself new. Why do I say that? Because going back to a point you mentioned earlier about all in, I haven't thrown myself off the edge yet. Right? I still work a full-time software gig on the side with my goal of trying to get this full-time other business to replace that income. Now, I want to point out a couple of things I haven't done well. And hopefully it helps somebody else. I'm still in the midst of this. I'm kind of in the midst of a little bit of a crisis, but I think we're pulling through, and I think in about 6 months we'll be on the other side, hopefully. For the longest time, I kind of let marketing just, put in my Google ads, my Facebook, and let it go with that. And that worked for a while. But one thing I did not do, I did not react fast enough when some of that wasn't producing as well. And I kind of let it slide, like, oh, it'll come back. And sometimes it did, and sometimes it didn't. And so that's put us in a bind the last couple of years because I didn't respond as quickly. So I think if I had one recommendation based on that, it'd be, if you try not to ignore a problem. If something comes up as a problem, try to figure out a solution, try to deal with it quickly, because otherwise it's going to drag on your business. It could take you down as a business. You might have to go bankrupt or whatever it might be, which, I think as an entrepreneur, we don't want to do that, right? We had this idea, we had this vision, we had whatever it was that was driving us to get started. So whatever the particular challenge is, if it's resolvable, then we should probably try to resolve it quickly rather than let it kind of fester and hope that maybe it just resolves itself. Be proactive, in other words. And so I was weak in sales and marketing. And there's a little bit of irony in that because I did complete master's degree at Kennesaw State in business and marketing. Very ironically, I'm sure, but that's where I'm at. And so what we've done the last year and a half, is I did hire a small outside firm to start helping us produce some content that would drive a little bit more organic traffic. That particular thing, again, I think in hindsight, a little bit closer management for me, a little bit closer, more input on the content probably would have helped. We did stop that. For us personally, we found that certain paid ads just weren't driving the results that we needed. So those were discontinued. And then middle of last year, I kind of had a moment of reckoning in my mind where I just sat down and looked at it and said, you know what? I'm going to be out of business in 6 months to a year if I can't get things turned around. So what do I need to do? And so we decided to move forward with a business development manager. We hired a contractor to do that, so that way we're not fixed yet. And then assuming things continue to pick up here in the next few months, I would like to bring them on full time, of course. And then we hired a sales rep. And so we are now focusing. We have one person who's really focusing on marketing and developing the sales channels and developing our pipeline. And then one person who's day after day pounding away at those phone calls, working to bring us more business. And so I think looking back across the last 9-10 years that we've been in business, or that we've had the business, I think if there was one thing I would do over is I would work to be more proactive, specifically in the areas of sales and marketing for me. Because without sales, you don't have income, you don't have a business. So, now if you're in some type of online business where that just flows naturally, maybe you need to focus more on whatever it may be that's a challenge for your business. It could be operationally, it could be the flow of goods. How do I, time my goods to get here from wherever part of the world they're being produced on time to be available on my Amazon marketplace, whatever that may be. But for me, it was definitely sales and marketing. I took the kind of lackadaisical, laid back approach, and it's costing me because I didn't deal with that. So that's my encouragement. That's my lesson learned, or is still learning, to be honest. And like I said, I'm optimistic about the future. It's the next few months are still going to be a bit of a challenge, but it's always a good day when your sales manager calls and said, "Hey, we have 3 new sales coming in this week." Yeah, actually, that's great, right? But of course, we know that there's a lot more to do to build that pipeline and get it full of clients who want the services. And so, I realized I never did get around to fully explaining our products and services. So,
well, let me ask you this: like, kind of put me in the shoes of your customer, right? What inspires people to want to make a custom board game, and what is the lifespan of your working with that customer look like?
Certainly. So the typical customer for us is someone who is working to do some type of fundraiser or some type of community event. So we've had a lot of success with everyone from schools to Chamber of Commerce is kind of the recent one. And I'm actually working to get some more detail from some of our customers on this because I want to build a better story, or so that when we talk to other Chamber of Commerces, for example, I can say, well, this one in Texas, they had really good success. Here's what they did for their members. So, but in the case of a Chamber of Commerce, for example, a part of their mission or goal is to help service their members, their small businesses in their community. And so it's to help build awareness for those businesses, And I believe there's a whole area of services and whatnot that they try to provide as well to help improve the economy in the local area and whatnot. So what they will do is they will offer the spaces on the board. So what am I talking about a board? Well, we produce Opoly style games. So if you look at it and you say, gosh, this looks like a Monopoly game. And due to the way the game was originally trademarked and copyrighted, we can do it. We can produce games that look like it. We cannot call them Monopoly games. We can say Monopoly style games, property trading games, etc. But as long as we don't use their trademarked and copyrighted images, we're okay. And so we produce community style Monopoly games for them, Opoly style games. And the way that they'll pay for the game and the shipping of the game, so typically come in and order, say 500. And they will offer the spots off on the board, the money, things like that, to their members for a set fee. Depending on how many they order, we have spreadsheets that help them calculate what we recommend they sell those spots for, with the goal being that, excuse me, once the game is completely, all the components are sold off as advertisements or logos or whatnot, then that money specifically covers all the costs of manufacturing and shipping that game to the US. And then from there, they take and sell that game into their community. So now all of a sudden you live in Marietta and you have Marietta-opoly. And you have on the board the different banks that may be in Marietta, different businesses that may be in Marietta. They'll have their name on a spot on the board, and they've sponsored that spot. We find it's very common that banks will sponsor the money. They want their logo on that money, and it's pretty cool. They like it, and we have several different designs that we can do for them. And so that's kind of a quick summary of how a chamber of commerce or a small town or a nonprofit might do something. And that's one example of excuse me, get one drink here. So that's the primary example of how people will use our product to help build awareness in the community for different businesses. If it's for a specific nonprofit, then it's to help build awareness for their nonprofit and then bring in revenue. And excuse me, it is building awareness for that nonprofit, of course, but it's also providing an opportunity for their sponsors of the nonprofit to receive some recognition as well, and hopefully build some brand name recognition around that. And then of course, with the end goal being that if the nonprofit sells 500 games at $40 a piece, you're talking $20,000. Did I do that math right? I hope so. $20,000 in cash that they can then apply to whatever their particular cause or causes or events are that they do in their community. And so that's one of the cool things. I really like to see that. We have private schools will sometimes do similar events. We had a couple regional chains of newspapers a few years back. They went in and they were small towns, and it was a really cool thing that they did for all their communities, about 20 different communities, 20 to 30 communities that built their own small town Opoly game. Because it is more common that you might see an Atlanta-opoly or an Atlanta version Monopoly, which is produced either through Hasbro or one of a company called USA. I believe it's USA-opoly. They actually have licensing to produce more officially imaged type Monopoly games. But for the rest of us, if you're in smaller towns, the quantities needed for that are too high, and the price would be too much. So that's kind of where we fit in. We do have other games. For example, there's one company, one client of ours that comes back frequently, every year and a half, and they're called Be a Broadway Star. It's Be a Broadway game. If you go on Amazon and look it up, it'll pop right up at the top. And what the person is someone who was big in Broadway, and they have some, I don't recall the details, but they have a company in Broadway, and they built this game for young people who have an interest in learning more about Broadway, being on Broadway, those kind of things. And so they have built a game around that. And so give props out to them because they come back every once in a while. They referred other clients to us. But it's really unique for me to see the creativity that people bring to some of these things. I've been blown away a few times where I've seen some of these games like, wow, that is a cool concept. I never would have thought of that.
Sure.
But
How long
the
does it take, the whole process?
So, excuse me. Some of that does depend on the client. So we have, for a nonprofit, if they're doing a fundraiser, they of course have to go sell the sponsorships, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so in that case, that maybe takes them a month. It maybe takes them 2 or 3 months, depending on how they do it. Because a lot of the nonprofits, you might be aware, a lot of these people are volunteering their time, so they may not be doing that full time, and they may not have a full time committee or board or whatever who can do that. So it can be anywhere from that time. Basically, from our part, is we work with them to take the graphics. They'll give us the logos. They'll walk us through kind of what design they want. If they have their own graphic designer, even better, often, because a lot of times their own graphic designer will have a better sense for who they are as an organization and
Sure.
maybe some of the thematic elements that they might be able to put into that game. But we're always going to work with them and try to do that as well. And oftentimes we present multiple ideas for certain components of the game to say, hey, what do you think about this, or this? Give them 2 or 3 options. We don't give them too many. But so then it takes, let's say that it takes a nonprofit, Chamber of Commerce, let's say it takes a month to get all of their funds ready, all of everything, sponsors all brought in, everything. From there, we work with them back and forth to get the graphic design right. Okay, so once the graphic design is right and they approve it and they sign off on it, we send the graphic design over to the factory's graphic designer. And that factory's graphic designer, they do their thing very quickly. They get it in their format, make sure everything looks good from their perspective. We get that proof back. From there, once the client signs off on that final proof, then it goes to the factory. It's about 4 weeks in the factory. From the time they say, client says, go, we're good. About 4 weeks there. Shipping, oh my gosh, if you're ever doing importing, exporting, just be aware that it's not like Amazon and FedEx and UPS overnight. To be honest, that's one area where we've had a number of challenges. We just switched to another logistics provider because there's a lot of, I find in the logistics industry, there's a lot of modernization taking place, but there's still a number of instances where the communication is very challenging, and we can't always get updates when we need them as quickly as we need them to kind of keep our clients up to date, right?
Sure.
So they may have a whole event planned around this game arriving, and a shipping company says, well, we think we can get it to you by X. Okay, so they start planning on X. Well, the boat for whatever reason takes an extra week at sea, or they plan an extra stop that we hadn't counted on. And all of a sudden our client starts, get worried. They're on the hook. They planned an event around this date. And we try to avoid those situations, and we try to build padding in. And so I would say that's one area of challenge that we're still working on. We're still trying to learn, trying to find a logistics provider that communicates at the level that we kind of need, or provides the shipping estimates that are sufficiently conservative so that our clients aren't left in the lurch, or end up being mad or frustrated with us. And we absolutely feel for them. It's like, and then we're frustrated because we're in the middle, right? Once it hits the boat, we don't control anything. It's at the mercy of weather and strikes and port strikes and all of that. So we're really striving to try to give accurate estimates, but typically by boat, anywhere from about, when we go conservative, we say probably 6 to 8 weeks from the time it hits the boat to the time it gets to their front door. Rare cases, it'll get there 8 weeks start to finish. That's extremely rare. I would never ever tell a client that. If they ask, I'll say it could happen. Please don't plan on that. We typically say that you should plan for 12 to 14 weeks from the time that we hit go on the factory. just because the logistics part of it, of moving it, is at times super unpredictable, and has caused us innumerable days of frustration.
Sure.
So
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, there's only so much you can overcome. Looking at your business though, I really can appreciate the creativity that goes behind this whole process, and the energy that you almost have to share with your customers in order to create that sense that they found the right home, right? They found the right service, or person to render that service for them that's going to make their dream, exactly what they see whenever they close their eyes and envision this thing, right? And coach them in the right direction of making it
correct.
a functional piece of equipment. So I appreciate the creativity, and I also appreciate the um, just the level of communication that it takes, right? The understanding that you have to have for your client for you to be able to successfully do your job is a tremendous amount of a deep dive that you have to do with those people. Um, and it's honestly something that you're lucky, a lot of people don't have that interaction with their clients, right? Like,
Hmm.
a lot of people don't really get to know the mission behind what it is that's going on, that is going to make this experience that they go through with you a pass or a fail in their mind, right? It's kind of hard to
Hmm.
quantify and understand that a lot of times, but it's also really, really exciting to know that this thing that I dreamed up in my mind, I have found people to turn that into a reality. So I
Hmm.
appreciate the impact that you have on your clients, and it really is an exciting thing. And to speak on your strengths, and some of the obstacles that you've had to overcome. It's like I said, I mean, setting good expectations and letting people know that you're working your butt off to do everything that you can to make their life a
Hmm.
little bit easier is about all you can do at the end
Hmm.
of the day, right? There's
Agreed.
logistic challenge for everyone right now. It is not a rare thing. And the thing about it is, the only way we're going to be able to overcome it is to set better expectations for everybody while those strangleholds continue to happen on logistics,
Correct.
right? So,
Hmm.
no, I think you're in a really good place. And I look forward to finding some people in my network. I'm going to look into some of the people I know in the logistics world and see if I can't connect you with some people that communicate a little bit
That
better.
would be
Um,
fantastic.
but yeah, I think what you do is really, really cool, and hopefully we can pump some of this out to some of the nonprofits that we're closely tied in with in our organization, and point them in the right direction should something like this ever be something of interest to them, or something
Certainly.
creative or out of the ordinary to really do something different. So no, I think you're in a good place. I think you're going to come out of it on the other side, and I think we can connect you with some people in our network that's going to make it a little bit easier for you. So no, it's a really, really exciting thing. How do people find you if they want to buy something from you? If they have questions, where do they go?
Absolutely. The excuse me. Best place to go is the number's 521 with the word promo.com. So 521promo.com. That's our website. We are working to get our other social media active and running, and I would point you to a couple of those, but I need to check with my business development manager to make sure we're ready on those. So right now, the best place is 521promo.com. Check it out. We're happy to chat about whatever your project may be. We do card games, board games. We have a license to do a trivia game as well. I will say that one takes more work.
Sure.
You're generating 300 to 400 questions, but I'm happy to work with whomever, and we're not always the right fit. I've had to turn away a few clients after we talk to them. I'm always trying to find manufacturers in Latin America and the United States, and I have talked to a couple in the United States as well. We just haven't been able to find the right fit for people who might want to manufacture in different locations. But I'm always interested in hearing about projects and chatting with you. We have a great team of people. I'm always asking them, what can we do better? How can we service the clients better? How can we create a better experience? Because when I hear about a client has a bad experience, it just kind of, I don't know, it just makes me, it kind of
Yeah.
burns me. I'm like, well, I don't like it when a client has a bad experience with us, because I want to be up here, and sometimes experience is here. I'm like, okay, that means there's opportunity to grow. There's opportunity to learn and improve. So
Sure.
thank you so much for taking time to give us a chance to talk about the business, and look forward to, you know, chatting in the future and hearing more about some of the things you all are doing as well.
Yeah, for sure. I look forward to doing this again, honestly. I think you're at one of those tipping points in your business where you've got a couple of connections that you need to make that are really going to change the way and the pace at which you do business. So we should do this again after we hit some of those milestones, and let's just talk about what those experiences were. But I appreciate you coming on and giving the feedback. If there anybody that's listening that's interested in custom board game, please reach out to me, reach out to Chris. And if you're interested, really, just because you have a nonprofit or a chamber of commerce, or you're looking for a tool to connect with people, let's connect you with Chris and 521 Promo, and then let us help you be that mouthpiece for you as well, right? Like we're very engaged in our community, and I think that's really why I thought your business was so interesting, because it just seems like such a unique way to connect with your community and bring some value and do something that's really out of the ordinary. So I look forward to seeing where your business goes and grows, and I look forward to being a part of it.
Well, thank you so much, Bailey. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, anytime.
Thank you again
Flame
for
ship.
everything.
All right,